Okay, so what's one of the biggest factors that limits our cognitive ability when we're traveling? It's like to stress, whether it's somewhere new, a new culture, mode of travel. As soon as we're stressed, our judgment is clouded, and so we're more susceptible to the threats around us. So, to help shed some more light on how we can manage our stress better, I'm joined by Colleen Garrett, a Reiki Master. So, hi, Colleen, how's it going?
Hi, Darren. How are you? I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah, good, thanks. So, first of all, Reiki, for those people that haven't encountered Reiki before, what is it?
So, Reiki originates from Japan, and it is a form of energy healing through gentle touch. So, the Reiki practitioner uses their hands and either hovers over somebody or touches them directly in different spots on the body to help heal their somatic system and calm them down. And it also can actually help people when they're injured, have them have focused energy and focused cellular healing in the areas where they're injured. But it's definitely a gentle form. I always look at it as when you're a kid and you fall and you scrape your knee, one of the first things your mom does is touches you, right? And it's
Yep,
okay, it'll be okay, right?
yep.
It's really from that. It's exactly from that gentle touch will heal and will calm your somatic system and calm your emotions and kind of take away your pain.
Okay, I mean that is generally what we do to ourselves when we hurt ourselves, isn't it? You
Absolutely.
reach for that thing. Okay, all right, that makes sense. How did you come across this? Like, what was your route to Reiki?
So I've been practicing Reiki for 13 years. I originally started it because I was in a terrible state. I had been going through a horrible time in my life and nothing was working. I was seeing therapists and whatever, and I was still just in this state of constant panic, constant high, I don't know, what's the word for it? High
High anxiety type of like that.
anxiety and high
Okay,
like just and so someone mentioned to me like, "Why don't you try Reiki?" And I looked it up and I thought, "I'm not doing that. That makes no sense to me. That's not gonna help me." I waited about a month and then I was like, "Okay, well, I'm desperate. I may as well try it." And I went to the first session and honestly, it was life-changing. She was touching me in different spots, and all of a sudden, I was on the table crying like a baby, and I couldn't stop, and it was like all these emotions just came out in crying, and I felt so much better afterwards, so I started going, and then I started getting fascinated in it, and I stuck with it.
okay. I mean, I think most people that have travelled, and if someone says I've never been stressed when I'm travelling, I would question that. So I've travelled all over, and there is a degree of stress associated with travel, whether it's I've got bills to pay at home and I'm away for 2 weeks and I haven't done this and I haven't done that, or whether it's I'm traveling into an area that I am unfamiliar with or is potentially at higher risk. So where does there's obviously the stress build up before we travel. How do we? Well, first of all, how can you identify that? Is that a personal thing, or are there
Does
clear
stress build up
signs?
prior to travel? I mean, like you said, there's stress throughout travel. Travel is a very stressful activity for most people. And it gives anxiety. And to me, before travel, you can feel the tension. If you really pay attention to your body, you can feel it. For me, it's in my shoulders. Every time I'm stressed, my shoulders are going to tell me I'm stressed. But other people, like their stomach gets upset or they get a headache or whatever it is, those are the first signs in your body that you're really stressed out and you need to take some time for yourself to calm yourself down. And so for me, before I travel, I do try to do a Reiki session with somebody else. I give myself Reiki every day, but getting it from somebody else is a little extra special for me because you're able to just really chill. So I get Reiki before I travel, but if you can't get Reiki, doing just small practices like meditating or just touching your heart and your stomach and saying, "I'm safe, I'm okay, I can get this together, I can do this." Those are important practices. There's all kinds of other practices you can do before you travel that there's so many different activities out there that quiets the somatic system, like the 5 4 3 2 1 exercise. I don't know if you right if you look at five things and you feel four, or look at five things, you touch four things, you hear three things, you smell two things, or however you do the senses, all five senses, but you bring yourself to the present and you feel the ground. That gets you out of your head And out of that kind of constant tape in your head that's telling you you're not going to be able to do this, or you've got a huge list, you're not going to get it done, and brings you back to the present. And even honestly, drinking 16 ounces of water is going to calm you down and get you back to reset.
I mean, so just on that, and then I'm going to come back the drinking the water thing, because if you're on a flight, you're likely to be dehydrated anyway. We tend to tell people, we advise people to stay away from alcohol. I don't think it generally helps on flights. But even just drinking before you start to travel and then having the availability will affect what is it? Your body balance? Where am I going with this?
It will calm your whole nervous system. Like actually just focusing on that activity and just drinking and like feeling the water going down, like that brings in physical sensory feelings that makes you like start settling down, and you can just relax and start just being in the moment. It's really about being in the moment instead of thinking through and living in your head as you travel constantly, right? That's what gets you wound up and anxious, is the constant thoughts that make you think about every scenario that could potentially happen, right? That's what builds you up in anxiety.
I mean, again, I've got to be, I want to be careful here because I don't want to be on the cell, but if you've run through a plan in your head for how you're going to deal with things, then often you're on the front foot. It's when it's a surprise. So
Absolutely.
even if you think you don't get stressed before you travel, what things could you potentially do just in the build up to see how that affects you as you go through your next bit of travel? Where would you start with someone?
Other than like Reiki or meditation, which I think is really important to do, you can just do simple breathing exercises. You can sit, I do that. I stop and I sit if I'm packing up in my bedroom, and I'll just sit on the bed and do a breathing exercise, like box breathing, 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 pause, or 3, 4, 7, 8, which is breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7, blow out for 8. And if you do that repetitively, you'll start calming down, and you can get yourself back together, get yourself away from chaos, which is where you don't want to be while you're traveling, right? Chaos is going to happen, unexpected is going to happen, but you don't need to create it yourself before it happens.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I think, and I've certainly noticed, the best thing I ever bought was noise cancelling earphones for a lot of my travel, because I can see everyone else. And you go to an area of quiet and you go, okay, I'm just going to observe. The breathing thing has taken me a long time to get around to, certainly. But the box breathing, can you just go into that in a bit more?
So what you do it repetitively, and practice that. If you start doing it, eventually it will be a signal to your nervous system that we're about to calm down. So it's a practice. It's a repetitive practice. But if you breathe in for 4 seconds, and you hold for 4, and then you breathe out for 4, and then you just take a pause for 4, like count 4. And you do that over and over, at least 3 times, but as many times as it takes for you to start calming down. You will signal your body that, hey, this is the time we're calming down and we're going to do it. And for me, because I'm so into Reiki, I'm a person who touches myself too. I'll put my hands on my heart or my hand on my stomach while I'm doing it, like, hey, we need to calm down, so we're going to do this breathing. And same with 4, 7, 8, which is a little more, it's a little harder because you're breathing out for 8 and you're only breathing in for 4, right? So you're kind of,
Okay.
yeah. So you need to get used to that more, but that helps you to really signal your somatic system, like we need to calm down. We need to chill out a bit.
So don't practice that one when you're stood in the queue for the first time. That's not going to be the place to do that.
You want to start it in a calm place and
Okay.
just start doing it. And then if you're really practicing it, if you're doing it, making it part of your daily habit, when you're in places where you're stressed, you can do it and nobody's going to notice you doing it unless you're like breathing out crazily, right? Then they'll probably notice. But you can actually start calming yourself down that way and making yourself like, okay, I can get it together. I'm all right. I'm in security and I'm going to go through the checks and I'm going to take my shoes and my belt off and I'm going to be all right, right? Those are the times when you just calm yourself down through breathing.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I know you're tired when you travel, generally speaking, but it's amazing when a uniform stands in front of you and says, where have you flown in from? How you immediately forget
everything.
And you go, I'm not sure. That's clearly either that's because I'm just not that bright, or it's because there's a degree of stress going on there, and so you're actually confronted. And especially if you've had experiences where, when confronted by uniform passport, it's not always been that positive an experience, and you think, oh, here we go again. I wonder how this is going to go. So actually, I suppose that preparation in that moment of moving in.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm absolutely intrigued by Reiki. What else is there about Reiki that?
Reiki, for Reiki people who practice Reiki, who are certified in it, you learn to feel it in your hands, and you actually can feel energy, and you focus really hard on energy, becomes a tangible thing. And so you learn how to like tap into it and actually share it with people. And it's an amazing, it's incredible. I know someday science is going to prove something's there. Right now, right? There's some scientific studies, but there's not a lot. And when you look at meditation, same thing. There's more studies now coming out about how beneficial meditation is to people. But I'm sure that'll happen with Reiki too. But you play with energy, and I, as a Reiki master, I can feel when somebody's in trouble in my hands. If I tap into it, I can feel my hands pulsating. And I've had to teach myself to ignore it sometimes, because you really don't want to be like in a meeting with someone and go like, holy moly, you're like really in trouble. You don't want to do that.
Okay.
But for Reiki to people, when I feel it in my hands and I know like they're really stressed, I will say like, hey, would you like a Reiki session? I don't tell them why, but I do offer it because I can feel that energy in a room. It's something that takes concentration at the beginning and takes learning what you're really looking for, but you can actually, your hands are actually healing touch. They're healing instruments by the time you're really certified.
So this is a bit of a learning process and a journey, I guess, for most people, because you get stressed and you just crack on stressed. But actually, once you learn that there are ways of dealing with that, how do you kind of make that break and go, oh, I can recognize right now that I am about to become stressed, or I can feel it. Is that possible? How do you know to? Oh, come on, Darren, you need to do your breathing thing. How do I know?
I think what I've been finding, I've been reading a lot about somatic healing and expanding my knowledge past Reiki, really. And one of the things that I've learned recently is that, you do have three brains in your body. You have your head, your heart, and your gut. And 80% of the messages in your body are coming from your gut and your heart to your brain. 20% is coming back from your brain. Really like being in touch with your body and feeling if you feel like you're going over a roller coaster in your gut, that should be a notifying you like, hey, take a breath, chill, something's going on. And when we were talking about hostile environments, to me, that's vital in a hostile environment to pay attention to your gut, because your gut's going to tell you you're in trouble before your brain even knows. So it's important to actually be in touch with your whole nervous system and understand that it's not just your brain communicating. Your heart and gut is communicating back up to your brain to tell you some things, and pay attention to the whole thing. I think it's really important to know that and don't dismiss it. Don't think it out and go, that's ridiculous. Trust your intuition. If your gut's telling you you're in trouble, especially in a hostile environment, pay attention to it, because probably you need to look around and see if there's a threat, because it very well could be.
I mean, that's.
You can also be in real panic mode, right? So if you're really
Oh,
wound up, it's going to tell you that too. So you need to learn to distinguish between the two, and you need to calm yourself down in a way that you can.
I mean, so stress is there. I mean, I'm no expert on this. I'm an expert on being stressed, but you've got a degree of stress for that fight or flight. So it's useful in that respect. But we did quite a lot of work with a law enforcement officer, and he talks about, oh yeah, I feel it every time still. I still feel that flood of energy through my body, but I know it's going to happen. I know that is my body. I know it's how it's dealing with it. He said the first time it happens, oh, what's happening? He said, and understanding that over time has been really useful. But we also go into, my concern about stress is that we end up with tunnel vision. And we're only focused on one thing, and so we're no longer looking at all the other threats to our left, our right, behind us. or auditory exclusion. I can no longer communicate with someone because I've completely switched off because my stress levels, my heart rate have gone through the roof. Now, I know we're talking about the lower level of travel. You know, you've got the taxi. Am I going to be on time? Have I had to run to the gate? But I suppose if we've already developed techniques, then in a high stress environment, you know, what can we do? But to a degree, I suppose it's recognize, breathe in order to get ourselves thinking again so that we can start to engage with the problem rather than becoming, I suppose, part of the problem.
Absolutely.
So how far can you take it? You know, from the moment you start to prepare to travel, are we already potentially feeling stress at that point? I've been told I'm traveling in 2 weeks, but without recognizing it, is there potentially, if we start engaging with it at this point, are we preparing ourselves for success as we go, or is that too far out?
I believe you are. I think if you 2 weeks out, you're preparing to pack and you're already feeling guilt, right? You're feeling guilt about leaving the office and all the work that you're not going to be doing while you're gone. You're feeling guilt about leaving your family, or you're worried about, did you leave the water on in your house, or whatever. There's all these worries that are going on in your head, and you're stacking that list up. And I think when you're in those situations, if you just can stop and find whatever stress reducing ritual can help you, because there's so many. I mean, tapping's another one, where learning to tap is a fantastic way to just kind of bring the stress down to a manageable level. There's always going to be stress. And quite frankly, stress and anxiety are your friends. They're helping you deal with situations. So you need to look at it as like, anxiety is my best friend right now, telling me I need to like just care a little bit. So I'm going to care. But also, you can control it and you can bring it back down through whatever routine you want. There's so many ways, and there's so many different apps now that can give you like a 3 to 5 minute meditation or just calming music, or whatever you find that can help you stay in control. As soon as you start feeling stress about travel, it will help you throughout, and it builds upon itself, right? So if you do it then, and then you get to the airport, and once you're through security, you're sitting at the gate and you breathe and you start thinking about leaving some of your stuff behind. I do that. I leave the energy I'm bringing with me that I don't need to bring on the plane. I leave it behind. I actually say like, okay, I'm leaving my email queue behind. I'm setting it right here. I'll pick it up when I come back. But I like visualize, I'm putting that stack there. I'm not taking it with me on the plane, right? Same with at home. Whatever you left at home, I'm leaving it here. I'm not going to worry about who's watching my dog. I'm not going to worry about my kids. I'm just going to set it here. And before I get on the plane, I'm just going to focus on living these moments, this
Okay.
travel moment.
So it's used the term control a couple of times. Is it, to a degree, it sounds like we're regaining a bit of control over the situation, because albeit you're in the queue is moving, and that's the way that is. You're going with that. You're not really in control of that, but you can be in control of your thoughts. You can be in control of your breathing, and whoever you've left your dog with, well, you've already done that. There's not much you can do about that now, I suppose. And so you go, okay, that is wasted thought, wasted stress. That's going in its own direction. Okay, all right. I like. Now, when we were first talking about this podcast, you talked about, you did this, and you said in terms of a calming system
Absolutely.
or action. What was that again?
You can hug yourself. I can't let go of the space bar. You can hug yourself, and if you just do that for 30 seconds, both sides, just stroke your arms, and then it, envision something pleasant, a place that you like, or um, sitting in your living room if you're chilling on your couch. If you envision something pleasant and you do this, you'll calm yourself down. It's truly all about somatic system healing and the nervous system, but it will actually help you calm down. It's like it goes back again to whatever your mom did when you were a kid, right? Giving you hugs are things that calmed you down as a kid, and it's doing the same thing. It's like just chilling you out. And if you do it seriously just for 30 seconds with both hands, you will calm down. You will actually calm down, and you'll feel so much more in control. Of course, you have to let go of the chaos and whatever you can't control. You can't try to control things that are outside of your control, but you can control yourself, and you can calm yourself down.
Okay. I can see my immediate thoughts are, will someone watch this and go, there is no way I'm standing in a queue doing this. But I reckon, given how busy an airport is, no one would even notice. I think you could just quite happily, and people just, they've got their own things going on. They've got their own worries about where my passport, where my ticket is.
Exactly. We're like, well, I don't know what that person's doing, but you're done in 30 seconds. So,
They seem
people's
quite
attention.
they seem quite happy and calm. So that is not my problem. Okay,
Right.
I'm intrigued by this. Like I said, the whole breathing thing for me has become increasingly important when you're facing a situation or whatever it is. I mean, like I said, just taking that initial breath, that pause, and then going, okay, this is where we are, and this is what we're doing and going for. But this takes it, I think, a stage further in terms of box breathing, and then the, what was it, 4 4 7 8?
7, 8. Breathe in 4 seconds, hold for 7, and blow out for 8. It's a little harder to do. I would start with box breathing. It's a simpler thing because that's a pattern that you can repeat pretty easily. 4 seconds, 4 times, pretty simple to remember. But 4 7 8 to me helps you bring in oxygen, and you're blowing out so much more in your lungs. Eventually, if you do it, you'll get to a point where you're either going to yawn or take a really deep breath,
Okay,
and you know and then that gives you that releases stress that way.
is that like a reset when you reach that moment?
Mm-hmm. You'll feel it.
Okay, that's intriguing. So, I mean, the box breathing for me, I think is probably quite easily done. That to me seems like an easy
Yes.
and quick win. And I think I'd be tempted to try and get away with this in a queue somewhere. I mean, I think the other stress I find is actually those around you. And when you have the opportunity, I suppose, to go, do you know what? I'm going to focus on counting to four effectively 4 times, and then I'm going to repeat that. And if you're concentrating on doing that, presumably you're taking yourself away from that situation and just focusing on you and that moment. So a great technique. I mean, yeah, certainly our concern when it comes to stress when we're doing the travel safety pieces is how do we keep people aware without being at this horrifically heightened alert state where actually that's clearly stress and they're just not in a good place for making any decisions because they're too busy jumping around thinking someone's about to hop out from a cupboard. And that obviously doesn't help. And the water piece as well, I think, is intriguing. I've always just thought we just need to stay hydrated, otherwise I'm going to get a headache on the flight, and when I land, I'll be in bits. But that in itself, to create that balance, I mean, that's certainly new to me. So, what would be your?
I learned,
Go on, sorry.
sorry, I learned that when I was pregnant with my youngest child, and I started having early labor, like when I was at 23 weeks pregnant, and I got put on bed rest. And the doctor told me, I want you, every time you're feeling like your body is not doing what it should do, which is rest, I want you to quickly drink 16 ounces of water. It will calm you down. And it is like, it's actually difficult to down 16 ounces of water,
Yeah,
but it does help you. Like, it's the cold water going through your body, and the way you just are focused on, like, oh my God, I have to drink a lot of water right now. But you do it, and you get used to it being like a really calming signal to your body. And it helps me in a medical situation. So I've been doing it since then, and it truly, really works.
so it's, again, you touched on this earlier, it's the body recognizing through your repetitive actions that it's stressed, and then this is the calming mechanism. So actually, the more you do that, the more the body goes, actually, this is our calming technique, this is us now about to start to settle.
Absolutely.
Right, okay. See, that is interesting. All of this is fascinating, and I think when you're younger, you just assume you're going to blast through all of these problems and just it'll be fine because you're young and you're slightly gung ho and all the rest of it. And then over time, you've actually got more to think about for starters because now you've probably got a family, you've got all these other elements, as well as you're now going to travel to somewhere that's potentially, well, even if it's not, I mean, travel can be stressful. You just catch the train up to London, and depending on who you're surrounded by and their behaviours, which then add to your additional problems. So, what would be your biggest bit of advice to someone that's actually just started to recognise I do get stressed, or someone that's recognised it in someone else? First of all, how do you broach that? But what would your advice be in terms of how do you take this a stage further to actually kind of implement these things?
My advice would be to, first of all, commit to a practice, like actually commit to making a routine for yourself. But if you're in a situation and you haven't ever been, you haven't set up a routine that's going to signal your somatic system to chill out, just actually putting your hand on your chest and putting your hand on your stomach just for a few moments and taking the box breathing, that will calm you down. And then as you start doing it more and more, you will find that your body's like, okay, I'm all right. I can relax here. That helps significantly. I think it is a combination of touch and breathing that to me is the most important in calming yourself down. The combination of those two, and also envisioning. I do this especially in high stress environments. I put a bubble around myself. I actually envision it. I take it around my whole body and I have a zipper on it. That's my vision. I zip it all up. And I say to myself, like, this is my zone and I'm in control of my zone. This is my energy keeping me protected. And it also helps me from envisioning, like, and I'm not spreading my energy, whatever it is, to everybody else and, building them up too. So I'm like keeping this nice zone of protection around me. And that is like a practice where I'm like, I'm in my bubble. I'm fine. I'm cool. And whatever anybody else is doing, I've got my bubble around me. I'm all right. And it's just,
I mean,
something.
I can't recommend highly enough just taking a look at breathing, because I think from there, then suddenly it opens up a whole new world in terms of how to manage stress. I can't recommend it highly enough. Taking that kind of time, and this has been an awesome little journey, which is I feel has just scraped the surface of what else is out there. We didn't even talk about belly breathing, which I feel.
Right. I know.
Have we got time for that? I feel like we should maybe touch on belly breathing if we may.
The thing about breathing is so interesting, right? When you're stressed out, you don't even notice you're not breathing because you are holding your breath. And that's something that people just don't even notice. Like, take a breath, just breathe, right? But belly breathing, you should be breathing by raising your belly through your diaphragm. You shouldn't be breathing up here like that. That's already just kind of a tense way of breathing anyway. So, actually putting your hands on your belly and feeling your belly raise, like making sure that you're breathing through your diaphragm, that's vital. And it takes, it is so weird when you actually pay attention to proper breathing, which is that way. You realize how many times you're not breathing properly. You're not bringing in enough air to your lungs or to your body. So the more you can like actually focus on breathing through your belly and exhaling it, the more you will relax, but also breathe properly. Like, no one breathes properly nowadays.
I'm laughing because I'm watching you breathing and I can feel myself then going and starting to breathe with you. Right? You do. But I mean, I know for a fact that I will hold my breath. Again, I learned that a while ago. I was like, okay, this is something to work on. So the whole understanding, the process of breathing, that circular breathing motion that I've listened to being told, in through your nose, out through your mouth I think that I think the whole thing's fascinating, and B, I think it's so useful for those people that are traveling out and about. Thanks very much. This has been absolutely awesome. I suspect we're going to find ourselves back here again discussing this, possibly a bit more detail in the future. I certainly hope it's been fun for you. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we've had this opportunity. Thank you very much, Colleen Garrett, Reiki Master. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Talk soon.